so I think fear has a very important purpose that should be honored and esteemed.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I show up maybe as a new person, how will I be received? How will I be perceived?
I have.
Yes.
You gotta step back in as you feed into that.
Absolutely.
That foundation holds you. He said, he said,
we ain't trying to start no fetishes.
Exactly. They said, what are y'all out here doing?
Exactly.
This is an amazing view.
It is. It's gorgeous.
By the way,
it's
like
gorgeous.
really.
It's like we could have been doing this the whole time.
The whole time. A gorgeous shot. How you doing?
Come on, and then that wind blow like it blow.
Absolutely.
And clouds changing, the sky getting nice, that rich blue back there.
Rich blue.
Come through blue. Come through colors.
Colors and things.
Come
on, creation.
Shoot.
Creation.
Come now.
Creation.
Talk to me, Creek. Babble at me. Babble at me.
You gotta get Kojic. You gotta get Kojic when you start speaking to the creation. The water. The water. The wind.
I cannot.
You have to get Kojic if you're gonna talk about it.
I can't.
Oh,
man. I cannot.
This is so good. I'm happy.
This is perfect. I love it. So thanks, guys.
Let's start, yo.
Yeah.
Are we recording?
Yeah,
we are recording.
I did not know.
Well, thanks, guys. Welcome to RAPHA. We thought we'd come on a new location, a new area where we can ground and
ground.
Just come through with healing on a whole nother level and have a more open perspective. We're going to talk about a deep concept today. We pray that it enlightens you, that you find a moment to actually participate in the conversation and be one with the space. So guys, we're going to talk about death and I can't breathe. We're deriving this context from this chant that has gone on, and we understand the voice of the people, we understand the cry and the hearts of the people where late brother George Floyd, his last announcement was, I can't breathe. And so the world has taken that on, but we want to just offer a different perspective in the cry of I can't breathe and what that really sounds like. So I'm Ashley, how we doing? Twin, Titus, and this is Chauncey. So guys, let's talk about it. Let's dig in. How do we feel about the cry of I can't breathe?
So as the resident breath guide,
yes.
I wasn't in this mindset of meditation and mindfulness 4 years ago, back with Trayvon, back with who was the guy up north who was selling, I think, CDs and DVDs on the street, and he was
Eric Garner.
Eric Garner.
Okay, yeah.
I think Eric Garner was the one who began the I Can't Breathe dialogue. Back then I wasn't really conscious of the power of breath and the power of being able to breathe. And just recently, I was thinking about the word that we're saying. We're saying I can't breathe in some solidarity, in speaking power into the life that was taken. However, there's power in words. And we, in fact, as living beings, can breathe. And myself and Twin and Chauncey, we're talking about this concept of death, and the most recent death that's been highlighted with George Floyd, and the chants. It's like, okay, we're here for the chant, here for the intent, but we're questioning a little bit of what the reality of living beings speaking that they can't breathe, and what that does for reality, what that does for your conscious, what that does for your actual physical body, as you're still living on earth.
And if we could,
I love that.
I love that too.
Yes.
I do want to give place to the phenomenon and the experience of death,
Yes.
because in one of our earlier videos we talk about the need for grief.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so
Yes.
I for people who are new to our conversation or new to RAPHA, I think we need to reiterate how death gives us the opportunity
Yes.
to experience and express love through grief.
Yes.
So although we are critiquing the
Yes.
championing of
Yes.
the phrase,
Yes.
we first acknowledge that the experience of death gives us an opportunity to reflect on our mortality
Yeah.
and the sensitive nature with which our lives exist.
Right.
And so that anytime a life is snatched,
Yes.
particularly the way this life was snatched for the world to see and witness,
Yes.
we first experience grief and how that is important and
Yes.
natural and
Yes.
necessary
Yes.
for us all to reflect on.
Yes.
And then I think where we're going with this conversation is we don't want to stop, though,
Right.
in that place of grief. We don't want to live.
Right.
We don't want to remain. We don't want to abide
Yes.
in sorrow, in
Yes.
despair,
Yes.
in helplessness or hopelessness,
In helplessness
or
or
powerlessness.
hopelessness, right.
Or
Right.
powerlessness.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so I just realized that
I
even though
love
we've
that.
been having this conversation for
Yeah.
several weeks now, there may be somebody watching this video who hasn't heard us talk about grief.
Absolutely.
And how
Absolutely.
important-
So thank you for
important it
highlighting
is.
that and bringing that in. Absolutely. I just love how we're both talking about it from a life perspective, because again, we all are still alive. And to keep chanting the song, the heart cry of "I can't breathe," when you indeed, we want to honor and give respect to breath and to life. And it grieved me to hear that. I understood that was the last breath, but now I see that it's changed the wind and the culture of what's going on. Albeit a lot of great things have come about. People are recognizing their own voice at this particular point with the chance, with being able to acknowledge that at that particular day something had to die along with this brother's life. But again, if we're looking at it through purpose and intention, I don't want us to stay at the grief place. We need to champion with a new breath the fact that we can breathe. If words do have power and you're declaring that I can't breathe, then I'm afraid that the spirit then at some point will tire out and will die. So unless we get a new chant, some new verbiage, some new language that bespeaks more hope, that gives more it gives awareness and a consciousness more so to life, I want to declare that I can breathe.
Amen.
I can breathe. I don't want to say this, and I don't want it to be disrespectful in our brother's death, but God is still breathing life into me, and I need to now find the purpose of what this breath is still here in the earth to do. And so let's talk about purpose from that.
And power.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of power now in understanding that now that we are still alive, we have something that we are called to do, a commission to go after. And what this level of consciousness, because I believe consciousness has now come about. I'm grateful in death, because when you understand that death is a part of life, but it's something that God uses as well. It's not the end of life. Things remain, things can continue, things can go on even after his physical breath on the earth. It has left a lasting impression. And so what are you guys, what are we speaking to when we're talking about breath now in the context of purpose? How do we want to give voice to that?
I like the idea of thinking about Genesis here.
Okay.
Because one of the first ideas that I was taught as I began to study the Bible and come into a relationship with Christ come into my image of God awareness was that when God breathed into man, he became a living soul. That right there, right? if God,
Right.
who first conceived us before he made us,
Right.
if he needed to then
Yes.
actually exhale
Yes.
into a body he
Yes.
created
Yes.
in order for that clay
Yes.
to take on life
Yes.
and meaning
Yes.
and purpose,
Yes.
if that was initiated by his breath,
Right.
then it argues this whole conversation
Yes.
that we're having,
Yes.
right? We cannot then declare, I
can't
cannot
breathe.
breathe, because to
Absolutely.
do so is to say, I cannot live.
Yes.
I cannot
And
be
that
a living
this-
soul
and
with
that-
what is happening.
And that this death somehow stopped God.
Exactly.
Or the flow of God
Exactly.
in the earth.
And the
Okay.
continuance of life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and
absolutely.
continuation of purpose.
Absolutely.
Because to give someone power,
Yes.
that's
Let's go
exactly
there.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
let's go there.
exactly
Let's go there.
for me.
Let's go
That's what
there.
I hear. What I
Yeah.
hear George saying is, you have taken from me
Yes.
the ability for me to live. That's what
Yes.
you've done.
Right.
I am informing you. I'm giving you feedback.
Yes.
As a
Yes.
result of your action toward me,
Yes.
you are robbing me of my
Yes.
ability to be a living soul.
Yes.
And that word was prophetic
Right.
for him,
Right. For him.
because
absolutely.
he declared it. He said that there was a thing that was ceasing his ability
yes,
to live,
yes.
and then we saw it
Yes,
manifest
yes,
in
yes.
his death.
Absolutely.
So what are we declaring on ourselves?
So what are we declaring?
In ourselves.
And what can we declare on ourselves? Not only to ourselves, but to the world.
Absolutely.
We wear shirts to say I can't breathe.
We put masks on
And that's until we might not be able to breathe.
that say I can't breathe.
What can we, what can we, how can we shift the narrative and shift the conscious chant, the conscious conversation to empower back to ourselves
Yes.
the ability to breathe and have life and have intention and
Yes.
have autonomy
Yes.
over our future,
Yes.
over what we want to be able to do in life as well. That's kind of where at least my head was, and I think our heads were as
Absolutely.
well. In that, okay, yes, honor his death, honor
Yes.
his words. However, take back the verbiage
Yes.
and the power of I can breathe, I will
Yes.
breathe, I have this ability
to breathe.
act,
Yes.
to decide,
Yes.
to change,
Yes.
to influence.
Yes.
I can and I
Yes.
will,
Yes.
not I can't and I
Yes.
won't.
Yes.
And you've taken from me.
Yes.
Because when you say I can't breathe, or another chant says no justice, no peace.
Right.
That again, it's powerful in its concept. No justice, no peace. So I'm now looking to someone else
Yes.
for my power to be able to act
Absolutely.
and have peace, or even give peace.
Absolutely.
And we should never be looking outward
Absolutely.
for our own peace or for our own life. We should always be able to
Absolutely.
recognize that I have this breath, this ability, this conscious power in me to be able to move forward as well.
Absolutely.
And that's what the same creator goes on to say. The reason why I am breathing life into you so
Right.
that you may be a living soul is so that you can then have dominion
Dominion,
and
right.
power
And authority.
over the
Yes.
rest of this creation.
Absolutely.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
why would I, who've been given power
Yes.
by the creator, forfeit
Absolutely.
my,
Forfeit. Let's use
forfeit
that. Yeah.
my ability
Yeah.
to be myself?
Even in
Absolutely.
word.
Absolutely.
Even
but
in
that's
word.
But again, if you're looking at action, if you're looking at something outside of yourself as a living being who has power and authority, your first weapon is with the tongue, with your mouth. What you confess, what you speak out has a vibration that comes right back to it, right? So if I'm saying I can't breathe, but then I'm expecting breath, if I say no justice, no peace, but then I'm expecting peace and justice, where's it going to come from? Then it's coming from an external thing instead of an internal, which is another measure of spiritual power. You've got to get back into alignment. So again, let's talk about it. So if we're talking about purpose, now we have a more conscious thought pattern in life and awareness of what breath is in purpose. So now we're accountable to breath now, right?
Yeah.
To our own breath.
To our own breath. Because if I'm still left on the earth and I still have life within me, I still have breath, what am I to do with it? How am I supposed to not just give, breath doesn't just give physical ability to my physical body, it's also giving it to my creative world, that which I can create a reality from the words that I speak, the thoughts that I think. And then let's go from that part of purpose and to what we can contribute in society from a more powerful position. Okay, so we can talk about institutions here, right?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I am grieved within how the church, and I'm going to use the church different from the body of Christ, the church being a institution, a place where we gather, go to a building.
Man-made.
Man-made, construct, concepts, and we've looked to them for power.
Hang on.
Yeah.
So before we get into institutions,
Yeah.
we've already given, expressed, and shared a lot, and I think it's important, just in general, in our conversations that we've been able to share with you guys, even more so in this moment, in this conversation, to take the time to breathe, take the time to kind of let what's been said settle in, both for you guys at home watching, listening, and for us here too.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll take a minute to receive, to feel, to absorb, to let it embody us for a moment or two. And we're gonna move on to the next portion of our conversation. So wherever you are seated, maybe laying down, resting somewhere, if you're driving, relax yourself, hands on the wheel. Soften your shoulders, relax your face, your eyes, bringing the word power into mind, bringing the word presence into mind, bringing the word and the concept of breath into mind. As we breathe, as we observe our thoughts, sensations, and feelings on the last few words. Inhale, take a nice, slow, deep inhale through your nose, chest expanding, shoulders rising. Exhale through your mouth, side all the way out. Relax your head down. Inhale, bring your head back up. Noticing again anything new in your body, anything new in your mind that you observed, that came to you, that was revealed to you. Eyes are closed, open your eyes back, coming back to your body, back to presence, reality. Wow. So we're gonna shift.
Good.
Yeah, we should shift.
Nice. Throwing my pillow like it's a dust pillow. How you doing? Doing good, doing good. Beautiful, beautiful day. This is beautiful. Yes.
Come through.
So hopefully that breath was inspiring.
Yes.
It was revealing,
Yes.
and it was grounding and healing.
I take that grounding and healing, most definitely. It's good to be reminded of breath. After all of the hard work that we've been doing, all that we've been encountering, just within the culture, the vibration, the earth, oh my gosh, it's just been feeling so heavy, the energy of it all. Forgive the buzzing, guys. That's what the energy on the earth feels like right now. All of this buzzing and distraction. Every time you're trying to get through or get to doing something, it's something else coming in with this feedback. But if you stay focused, if you maintain, and it's been helping me to just remember breath and ask God every day, you know, I want to make his breath count, you know, and what it's to mean during this time. You know, what do you want to do? Not just with the activity of my limbs, what do you want to do with the thoughts that I'm thinking? What do you want to do with the feelings that I have? Even in the times of being overwhelmed, press pause.
Okay.
No, ma'am, ain't nobody else been over here for this.
Well, if you look at what this is, you can go around all the way around too. Back
Yeah, that'll be
way.
good.
What's our next thing?
I just want to stop talking.
Institution.
So I want this video to just be y'all. Because every time I get ready to say something, something comes
comes
in
up
and
and you start
disturbs
talking.
it. And I'm like, okay, maybe I should just not be
No,
talking.
that's good. Where you are right now is good. So you can go right back to that.
Yeah.
And you even used that brilliant
The
to
background.
use what was obvious. That makes a lot of sense.
Just buzzing and all this. She far out of there?
Yeah, she's fine.
Okay, so getting back to what I was saying. Just like that, the chaos, but I think it's just a different level of commitment and awareness that God is calling us to, a new discipline in the area of focus and not taking for granted breath.
And inner work.
Yeah, inner soul work is so key right now. Again, we were talking about power before, and a lot of, you know, this quarantine time has really made us to be aware of what we've been doing with our time, our attention, and I believe all that's going on with the police brutality and Brother George Floyd's death, it's really caused us to really regain foresight and insight concerning purpose and breath and our existence on the earth. And with that, it's really caused me to give honor to breath again. I mean, I didn't realize how I wasn't breathing for real. And I'm not just talking about the in and out breath, but what was I doing concerning purpose? I feel like I'm more focused now to do my soul work, which is deep work that you have to get a lot of introspective time to and attention. And healing is not for the faint in heart, but we're all called to it. Oneness, wholeness in that. And so with this, I just want to challenge us to like hone in and really get to our own soul work. I was speaking about institutions, and I'll go here. I was talking about my grievance with the church. And I'm only highlighting the church right now. That's a lot of where my background is, but there's that noise again. With that, the church has been a place that had a lot of influence and a lot of voice. But if I'm honest, it wasn't doing a lot of soul work. It wasn't a lot of individual, deep-rooted work as to why all of this stuff is coming up, and we're kind of feeling at a loss. We're highly triggered right now. We're super emotional and a lot of things, and a lot of our responses.
We've been placed in a we've been placed in a opportunity.
Yes.
We've been given an opportunity to not rely on outside.
Yeah.
We can't rely on outside. We can't rely on government. We can't rely on structure. We can't rely on building. We can't rely on our past familiar ways of communing, ways of finding corporate strength.
Yeah. That's good.
Because the corporate space has been broken.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
jobs have been taken from us in different
Absolutely.
ways, whether they be
Absolutely.
lost or homework. Of course, as Ashley was saying, the church environment has been separated from what we have leaned on for many years, and I think it's given us the opportunity to do some real inner breath, inner observation, inner, what other words are there to use?
Reflection.
Inner
reflection,
reflection,
dialogue,
focus, all those things.
meditation,
We have
prayer.
now this
Yeah.
opportunity to do that, not absent per se
Right.
of the church, but with the intention that the church originally had from so many
Absolutely.
years ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, you finished? Sorry, I
I'm
didn't mean to cut you
done,
off.
I'm done.
I've been thinking about the boomerang effect. I feel like we were originally, particularly from an African experience, we were always whole.
Yeah.
We come from a people who were always connected.
Yeah.
We knew how we fit into
Yeah.
the earth. We knew what community was, how our families were a microcosm of a great design,
Right.
and an opportunity for us to share love. But what happened in the American experience
Yeah.
is that we began emulating the people who robbed us of our original peace.
Absolutely.
And it's what was really funny. On the way over here today, I was reading Deuteronomy 6,
Yeah.
and it talks about the place. It talks about when God is talking to Israel, and He says, "Look, I'm about to take you to this land
Yeah.
that's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
You're going to live in houses that you haven't built.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to eat from gardens that you didn't plant, and
Yeah.
you're going to be able to enjoy the fruit of land that you
Yeah.
did not labor for.
Yeah.
But
But
the gods that these people are
Yeah.
serving
yeah.
are not me,
Yeah.
and they're not worthy
Yeah.
to be compared to me.
Yeah.
So have me first
Right.
among all of your priorities,
Right.
and when you go over there, do not become,
not become
impressed
yes.
or consumed or infatuated with the pursuit for the material.
Yeah.
And the reason why I bring this up today is because I believe that there is purpose in the universe
Yeah.
for all of the institutions where we go find purpose.
Find other purpose.
All of
Yeah.
these institutions have shut down. The doors are locked. There are city ordinances that prohibit the
Yeah.
opening of the places that we've gone
Yeah.
to seek purpose
Yeah,
and
yeah,
seek
yeah.
power and seek freedom.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't believe it's accidental. I believe it's intentional because I believe God is using this opportunity for those of us who
Yes.
remember,
Yes.
who have it in our bodies,
Yes.
that there's a work, there is a
Yes.
peace, there's a wholeness that
Yes.
I can find that has nothing to do with any institution.
That's right.
It's not connected to any government.
That's
It's
right.
not connected to the police department or
Yes.
law enforcement, and it's not connected to my church. If the church never opens again,
Absolutely.
if the government never opens again, if the courthouse never opens again, there's a
Yeah.
place that I have in my
In
own
my
body
own, Yeah.
that centers, that grounds,
Yeah.
that informs,
Yeah.
that inspires,
Yeah.
that produces,
Yeah.
that creates, that breathes.
Yes. Yes.
And I believe this opportunity calls us back. That's why I said boomerang.
Oh, yeah.
We've been here before.
We've been here. Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
went looking for something,
Yeah.
and there's all kinds of books and all kinds of research about what it is in man that's unsatisfied with the pursuit of material possessions
Right.
that causes us to go looking in the first place.
Right.
Some people say there's a God-shaped void in all of us,
Right.
and we sometimes don't know where to go. And I think some of us put our faith and trust in institutions.
Right.
Not everybody put their faith and trust in the church,
Right.
but a lot of us
But
did.
an institution.
In
Yeah.
institutions.
Yeah.
And now those institutions are not available. They're not accessible. We can't go to them. And I love it. It frustrated me for a moment
Yeah.
because I built up a routine that was
Right.
about this pursuit. But I sit in awareness now
It
that
is
I don't have to go.
faulty.
I don't have to go anywhere.
It's been faulty, and we're gonna pause again because this video is incredible. It's just making me
I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I take it as a challenge. It's very much, I think, what we're talking about. I was thinking about, and this may not even be anything what we want to talk about, but I'm just feeling this. I was thinking about the whole idea of protest, right? The word to protest for me means to call forth my own testimony, right? So to protest means if something is happening that is an offense to me,
right.
I don't ignore it.
Okay.
I don't sit here and try to act like
It's
this
not
is not
there.
buzzing
Right,
in
right,
my
right,
ear.
right.
I protest.
Yeah.
I call forth
Yeah.
my own word
Yeah.
that this is not what I desire
Right,
for this
right,
moment.
right.
And what I appreciate even in this,
I loving it.
it is a object lesson
Absolutely.
and what we're talking about.
Oh,
and so
I see so much right there.
no, I know you do. I know you do.
I see so much right there.
So the idea of, and I know I'm kind of jumping back, but the whole idea of protesting, I can't breathe,
Yeah.
may not be what we want to say
Right.
in this moment when the microphone gets put in.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right,
It's like
absolutely.
you get the interview
Right.
on The View, right? You're on global television, and
Right.
someone says, "Okay, Ashley, what should America, what should the world learn from you about what is happening?" What is it that you want to say?
I can't. And people are like, what?
Exactly.
But the cessation of breath right there stopped. There was a ceasing in my spirit being able to invoke anything from that point. To me, it's a commanding, almost a damning type of thing, because it's stopping the flow of what I want to be able to articulate in a moment, which goes back to me talking about triggers. Okay, we're talking about protests and unrest. We're talking about all this shouting in the streets and all of that. But look at what you're shouting. Look at what you're confessing. Look at what you're protesting in a moment where you can actually try to do the work to emotionally express. You can now find the time to navigate, how do I feel, and how does this affect me? How does this affect my life personally? How does this affect my own personal power? Because again, if I've got to now sit with the reality that I've been looking to another, I've been looking to something else to give voice to me, for me to identify with, for me to not do my own work. I look for somebody else to do the work for me. Then I just come under and then always feel this oppressive nature. Well, what are you gonna do with your personal power now?
Right.
What are we to do with our personal power? And again, soul work is not for the faint in heart. Understanding how much you need to ground is not for the faint in heart. Realizing your own personal vibration. Are you a high level person? Can you maintain your own vibration, or do you need a group of people? Do you need things to always try to drum you up, hype you up, get you up, motivate you? Do you always need something? I guess the gift in it is seeing how often we have to go to something else.
Yeah.
And not and I'm not talking about self-reliance against God. I mean a self-reliance that God gave you a God-given ability on the inside to be able to locate where you are, to be able to honor the gift within inside self, that you yourself are a powerful being.
And Titus said a minute ago, there are places that he go. What I heard, the question that I heard you just saying was, where do you go when you are low?
Absolutely.
That's what I heard you
Absolutely.
saying. And Titus was just giving his own personal reflection about being able to go into nature.
Yes.
And how you found a way to experience a connection with nature, and that when you are not feeling ready to fully engage, you have that outlet. Can you elaborate a little bit on what that looks like? Because not everybody knows how to do that.
So is that because you can't always find what you need with humanity? And I guess I should say with humanity, that's in typical conversation. Some sort of familiarity or
social
just
exchange.
Social exchange, some sort of safe space. Do you feel, what makes you feel a deeper connection to nature?
What do you feel right now on your skin?
Wind. Coolness.
A settling.
settling.
As I'm on the ground,
Sun,
I'm settled.
energy.
Sun, energy. The earth is holding me. One thing that I have thought about in my attempts to go to nature and what nature has to offer is that nature doesn't ask of anything from us at all. And there's of course no putting down to family and friendships, to those that need us, because they need us to, in order to have a relationship. However, there are often times where you need to be somewhere that can give to you and not take from you and ask from you at all. And that's nature is the one place where I can go to, where we can all go to, and experience the energy that pervades the physical thing, that manifests in this energetic thing that gives you life and that gives you peace, that gives you grounding and support, that moves you, that enlightens you, that inspires you. And
love that.
I'm unable to get that from any other, even from human connection.
Yeah.
I get it, I see it. There's a value in that. However, there's also this amazing power that I get, and that we can all have access to when you choose to step away.
Absolutely.
You choose to connect to those natural things like water. We can hear the creek moving. When you connect to the ground, to root. When you connect to the air that moves. Even fire that does in fact burn,
Right.
but also gives you a chance to have heat and to create and to give life to new things as well. So
I love that. I love
That's
that.
huge. I'm so glad you
I
said
love
that.
that. I oftentimes I'm really connected to water. Its movement, its ability to reflect with such clarity.
oh, one other thing, if I could
Yeah.
to bring it slightly back to our original conversation of death
Yeah.
and of what the concept of death is, and letting go of certain things, knowing that death is not the end of things.
Yeah.
I mentioned in my Instagram live earlier today about the concept of seasons and cycles,
Yeah.
and you have an opportunity to learn from nature
Yeah.
and not get caught in the grieving stage that we often get caught in.
Yeah.
So as you observe nature, as you see what goes on in nature, trees lose their life, birds lose their life, clouds come and they go, but they come back in new and fresh forms as well. So I also am able to kind of gain a higher perspective on the reality of death, and that it's not a final thing,
Yeah.
and that you can also find life through death, and that you have to take life from death as you move forward in life as well.
That's beautiful.
There's also that thing about, I also heard you say, thank you for that. There's also this part about social interaction and why it doesn't give us the energy that we so desperately need it to. Some of us find ourselves in relationships with people who are positioned to give us energy, but maybe taking more energy than they're giving. There's all kinds of research about the brokenness of humanity that explains why in a social interaction, although we may be able to share energy and give energy, no energy being lost, however, when you're dealing with fractured personalities or broken people or people who are not aligned or people who've been traumatized by watching too many violent videos of their kind being killed on the street, right? There's energy loss. And so what I am excited about is the ability to heal through nature and recover energy that may have been lost from my body but is not lost from the earth.
Absolutely.
Even though I may not be able to get from my family the energy that I need on a daily basis, if I have a routine that takes me outside of my bubble and exposes me to places where energy is abundant. Because my new thing is there's plenty of energy available in the universe for everyone to be whole. But a lot of us miss our opportunities to find these treasures because we continually are looking in places that are energy deficits. It would be just like going to an account that has been overdrawn and asking for money.
Absolutely.
It didn't have any, it hasn't had any money, and not only does it not have any money, it has no source.
Okay, well
it's not connected to any source.
Well, let's go there. Then let's bring it back to a personal perspective. What if we look like that?
I think we often do.
What if you examine self and you say, man, the reason why I'm chanting that I can't breathe is because I'm being honest that there's no life-giving energy, vibration, vitality. Because again, if your words have power and that's all you're declaring, hey, how we doing? If that's all that you're declaring, then I'm gonna say you got a low battery. I'm gonna say that you are low vibration,
and you're not gaining anything from your search.
But again, now you can't go to these things that you once gone to because they're deficient also.
Exactly.
And so getting back to, I love that you highlighted that as well, getting back to personal power. I'm a follower of Christ, gonna always declare it, because his consciousness, his awareness was the highest. And if we're trying to esteem ourselves higher, if we're trying to get a understanding, I've not seen anybody go from death to life other than Christ, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
He
so
wrote the book on it.
wrote the book, lived it out. You
He
know,
wrote it.
we saw that, but I'm really just, my heart is really pulled on the aspect of spirit. Us getting back to the spirit of man, the heart, the energy, the vibration of mankind, of you yourself personally, and us having a new world order, a new shift. What new are we going to bring now to these spaces? What new are you going to bring in your own personal life, spiritually? How are you going to navigate life on a whole different plane from now on? If you were low vibe before and you were in poverty, you had certain addictions or perversions or whatever you may have had you trapped in, where you felt like you weren't good enough, you couldn't arise, you couldn't come up, you couldn't be a better you, a different version of you. Now you have the opportunity. Why? Because we're now aware of purpose again. We're now brought back to letting certain things die, because in order for something new to arise, something has to die, right? So if we're not talking about a physical death, we're talking about how some of us have been spiritually dying. How some of us have not been aware of our own personal power. Listening to Twin talk about getting back to nature, that's something that somebody would say, that's just so simple, but once you experience it, you don't realize how powerful it is. Or it's just like being on a journey where you've been eating trash, and then all of a sudden you discover better eating habits, and then all of a sudden you got all this vitality, you have all this life-giving energy to come to you. Or if you've been reading different material and helping to feed this new consciousness, this new intel that you have, and what you'll do differently. I'm more hopeful now with these type of conversations than I am with the destructive, because I think I Can't Breathe is very destructive. I really do. I think it's low vibration. I think it also brings about these triggers, and when I'm seeing people triggered, again, y'all can hate me after this, I'm gonna love you anyway, and there's nothing you can do about it, but some of us are throwing emotional tantrums because we're not doing the work to emotionally, in an intelligent way, articulate what we're going through. You know, we've not sat with ourselves to be able to honor our feelings, honor, you know, what's going on within, not creating safe spaces. Because I think that's the gift in this now that these other institutions are being challenged to do something differently, you can now start a safe space. You can now enter into safe spaces
and command certain things.
Yeah, and bring certain things. Because again, if I'm not always looking to get something, and I can now give, because I'm now not coming from a deficient place, right? I can actually offer something that is worthy and life-giving. I love that. I just think that's where we are.
I love that, and that seems like a perfect opportunity to talk about the opportunity that we have created for ourselves, and that we are inviting anyone listening to participate in. Because one of the things that we've always talked about when we decided that we were going to be what we call now RAPHA, is that we were going to create a healing space in our community, for our community, as people begin to discover that there's more available than they're able to take advantage of. We have committed to create for ourselves and extend to anyone else who's interested this space to heal, to grow, to recharge. And that's one of the reasons I'm really excited that you guys are here today.
Absolutely. I feel restored even having the conversation.
Oh no, it's
just
crazy.
Having the space to say these things openly and honestly is very life-giving. Being in this space, I don't know if y'all can see that brook running alongside, but to be this close to life, water, which constantly gives, it's just a treasure. It really is a treasure to discover, but something to experience. So I want to ask you guys watching, what do you want to offer to the conversation? We would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on I Can't Breathe? What are your thoughts on death versus life? Because I believe that's the hour that we're drawing out of, is Are you going to live life from a low vibration and a death consciousness? Are you going to step into the awareness and the accountability of life and breath and your ability to restore and to heal? Yeah, just kind of want to have y'all sit with that. We would love to hear from you. Write us on Facebook.
Drop a comment.
Drop a comment.
A perspective and opinion.
Yeah. Let us know, because again, we're having these conversations to heal the land. I spent a lot of time in prayer and meditation, which has been so helpful for me during this time to be able to come out of prayer. Because see, I'm going into prayer with something, but I also come out with something, and it has really been a challenge. And it's kind of created a space for us to have content and topic on what to share. So I want to thank y'all for this conversation.
Thank you, Chauncey.
Woo!
Thank you, Titus.
This passion. That's right.
You're welcome.
Even the animals said thank you.
On.
Okay? Even
Come
the animals
on.
said thank you. So we love you guys so very much. Please join us. We will do part 2 of this because it's just so much that we haven't shared.
There's a lot more.
Thanks for sitting through all the clutter and clamor and noises in the background. But again, we wanted to be in a very, very honest space of what life feels like in real time, what the earth sounds like in real time.
In a healing space.
In a healing. I mean, we're in green grass, guys. You get no more peaceful than green pastures. You get no more peaceful than sitting beside still waters and your soul being restored. And so in the midst of that, in the midst of this pursuit, if you only knew what it took to get to this space, we've had to scope out the land. We had to come with our own intention, and still we couldn't control the environment around us, but we stayed focused, we maintained, we stayed committed in the face of calamity.
Yes. Prophet.
Because this consciousness, it's now to me our greatest responsibility is this consciousness that we've been brought to. The whole earth is experiencing it.
Ooh, you just said something. It reminds me.
Next week.
What?
Next week?
What?
Next video.
What? No. It's just a phrase. This goes with what you just said. No. It just reminds me. It says the thing I posted it on my page. It says, "My trauma is not my fault, but my healing is my responsibility."
Woo! Come on here.
That's this week. That's today.
That's what I said. I said no.
That's today.
You just talked it.
Wow.
You just talked.
That's
I was like, oh.
Yeah.
It is our responsibility.
Yeah.
And I want to leave us with this, guys, and it may start a whole nother conversation, but just as Jesus said, no man taketh my life, I lay it down.
Yeah.
And so the same thing for you. No man can take your life unless you live a life without purpose. But we know that God has given purpose to every person in existence. Why? Because your breath had a purpose when it was breathed into you.
Yeah.
Before the world was created, God knew you. Before you were fashioned or formed in your mother's womb, you were known by God. And out of that, God does nothing without intention, without heart, without passion, without purpose, without an idea of worship within it. And so no man can take your life. No man. Let not what's going on in the earth begin to consume you any longer.
And to the point of no man can take your life, just to add a smidgen more. When your life is lived in such a way that you give and give and give, at the point wherever your life may be left, where you may stop breathing, where you may lay down and you don't get back up again until the next time, live in such a full way that your life keeps living beyond you. Where when you do let go, that your spirit, that your intentions, that your will, that your purpose has been given enough times, enough ways, enough places that it continues to live. So you really then don't die. That who you are, who you decided to become from your birth, who God has given you to be, it never does go away. George Floyd's his purpose. His daughter said, what did his daughter say?
Daddy, you changed the world.
You're gonna change the world. He's not his value, his intention, his purpose is not gone. His consciousness is no longer here, but he has done enough, even in his death,
Absolutely.
to still be able to give life. So let's carry on his life, carry on his breath, carry on his purpose as we continue to move forward in life today as well.
Absolutely. And do it with your own breath. Your own breath. Your life matters. And it matters to God first. It should then matter to you. I don't look for man to value my life. He didn't give it. Nor can he take it away. I love that. I want to leave us, if y'all don't mind, with a quote by Dr. Martin Luther King. He says, "You may be 38 years old, as I happen to be, and one day some great opportunity stands before you and calls you to stand up for some great principle, some great issue, some great cause, and you refuse to do it because you are afraid. You refuse to do it because you want to live longer. You're afraid that you will lose your job, or you're afraid that you will be criticized, or that you will lose some popularity, or you're afraid that somebody will stab you or shoot you or bomb your house, so you refuse to take the stand." He says, "Well, you may go on and live until you are 90, but you're just as dead at 38 as you would be at 90. And the cessation of breathing in your life is but the belated announcement of an earlier death of the spirit."
And with that,
we love you. We love you.
we
love
invite you to check us out,
Facebook.
to join the conversation and dialogue, to add your thoughts on the dialogue. Where is it on Facebook?
Facebook, RAPHA Enrichment.
RAPHA underscore community is a.
Underscore community is on Instagram, right? RAPHA underscore.
It's also on Facebook.
Oh,
Facebook.
okay. No, but Instagram is RAPHA underscore
Collective on
Collective, right.
Instagram.
on Instagram, and then on Facebook it is RAPHA
Underscore collective.
underscore collective.
And it's also the same on YouTube.
On YouTube.
On YouTube as well. So join the conversation. We know that it gets lengthy, but guess what? It's the amount of time you really need to commit. We need to commit to having these conversations. We love you. We want you to be healed. We remember your breath even in this, and that's our intention in our heart. Remember your spirit. Be good to you. And as always, RAPHA to you.
Peace.
Peace. That was crazy nuts.
Who's going to stop it?